A petition to recall Governor Jeff Landry has been filed, citing, quote, a pattern of actions and statements that undermine fair representation, misalign priorities away from community needs, and emphasize punishment over meaningful solutions, end quote. In order for this petition to go through, at least 20% of active Louisiana voters will need to sign it. That is just over 500,000 signatures. The petitions must be submitted to the Registrar of Voters in the next 179 days. If enough signatures are certified, a recall election will be held. Confusion continues for voters this primary after the Supreme Court ruled that the state's congressional map is unconstitutional. To be clear, early voting is still going on, and there will still be a primary on May 16th. And while right now, whatever you mark as the congressional seat for your vote is not expected to be counted, many lawmakers and political experts are saying you should still make a choice because the future of that seat is still very unclear. In a move that ends a long-standing dispute, the Orleans Parish School Board has agreed to a new proposal. Under the agreement, the city will stop charging a fee on property taxes collected for the school district and reduce the fee it takes from sales taxes. It will also no longer use school tax revenue to cover certain pension costs. School officials say this will mean about $6.6 million more each year for the district. The city has also agreed to repay some of the money that it previously collected. Scientists have issued a stark warning after a new study suggests that New Orleans residents may need to relocate sooner rather than later. This latest research examines how climate change is causing sea levels to rise, land to sink, and storms to intensify, all of which directly impacts our coastline. And Paul Murphy's joining us now. I think one of the big things that people are asking here is, what does sooner rather than later mean? What is the timeline for this?
Well, I talked to Torbjorn Tornquist, who is the Tulane scientist that led up this team of coastal geologists that are responsible for this paper. And he says that New Orleans should still be good by the end of this century, but by the end of next century, it could be a totally different place. And
what does that mean by totally different place? How extreme is he predicting?
Well, part of this paper points to an ancient Louisiana coastline about 125,000 years ago, before the last ice age. And that the paper says that the coastline back then was what we now call the Ponchatoula Ridge, which runs about 30 miles north of New Orleans. From Mandeville to Ponchatoula, and he says that at the rate we're going, we could go back to that ancient coastline or even further south of Baton Rouge.
Well, is there any pushback that you know of to this study?
There's a lot of pushback. I was just talking with Michael Hecht, who is the CEO of GNO Inc., and he said that this is an irresponsible paper. And it amounts to an academic eulogy.
Whoa.
And that there's no way we're going to give up a great American city or a part of America where that is rich in natural gas, where most of the grain from our country is exported, he says it's not going to happen.
Interesting. All right, two very strong, very interesting sides there. So
yeah, and we'll have the full report on our website, the full paper, I should say, so people can read it and make up their own minds.
All right, and your full report's coming up tonight at 5 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Paul, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And remember, you can always find the latest updates on this story and all of today's headlines on our website, on our free smartphone app, and on our social media pages.